Welcome to the Awaken on Purpose podcast, where each week you'll receive insight, inspiration, and advice for aligning your mind, body, and spirit to achieve a fulfilled life and live your purpose with me, your host, Jennifer Spohr. You'll also hear from other leaders who share their inspirational stories and wisdom in living fulfilled, on purpose, and making an impact. If you're a mission-driven leader and you're passionate about learning and integrating all the things that empower you to live and lead a fulfilled, purpose-led life, this is the show for you. Hey everyone, Jennifer Spohr here, and I am really thrilled and just excited to have Katherine Wehler here today. She is a new paradigm business and soul coach and host of the Soul Rediscovery podcast. Katherine is committed to guiding light leaders in creating and truly anchoring heaven on earth. She uses her 20 plus years as an astrologer, human design skills, and access to the 23rd dimension of the Akashic Records to help her heart-centered clients create a lasting impact and legacy of love, and majorly increase client attraction and money manifestation. I'm tongue twisting myself here. Sorry. And overall build a life based on love, joy, freedom, and abundance. Boom. Born with soul blueprints focused on helping humanity shift into the highest timeline possible, Katherine is deeply passionate about business being not just another career, but an important platform for global transformation and ascended consciousness, something I am also personally and professionally very passionate about. Yes. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, we're already off to a great start. It seems like I'm jumbling my words today, so we'll see how this goes.
It's okay. You know, like we were saying before we started recording, I'm on the floor because I'm going through a complete office remodel. So it's one of those days. Uranus is doing crazy things, and
it's real life, right?
It's real life. Yeah.
It's real life. Chances are none of this is being edited, just so you know. So
please don't. Well, it's like we were saying yesterday with like the taking our bras off, right? Like people need to see real people, real leaders, and not just, the pretty, perfect, whatever.
Yes. I love the work that you do, because I've worked with a lot of people, right, who are into astrology or human design, but you really do an amazing job of bringing just everything together, including the work and the records. Tell us what inspired you to get into this work, because obviously it's a calling, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness, where to begin? So I have always been this way. It's not something that I go seeking or looking for. I know a lot of like spiritual conscious people, in the most beautiful way possible, actually go seeking out that spirituality or go seeking out that consciousness or want to have spiritual revelations. And for me, it's more so that spirit, my entire life is like banging at the door, like, let me in.
Yes.
And it's been a gradual process of allowing that into my life. In a way where I feel safe to be who I am and safe to express that, and not like I have to hide that side of myself or run away from that side of myself. So in a nutshell, when I was, 5 years old, I channeled light language and I connected it to ancient Egypt. The way I access the Akashic Records is I just sort of live the Akashic Records. It's hard to describe, but it's sort of like having a 360 view all at once. So I just see timelines and things sort of all the time, and I can't really turn it off. I have learned to say to my guides, hey, I really just want to watch The Bachelorette right now. Can we not be looking into timelines 20 years in the future or be looking at that past life? Like, that would be great. Thank you. But yeah, it's kind of just always been who I am. I've been into astrology since I was 7 years old. So I've been practicing it for over 20 years. And human design is a little bit of more of a newcomer. I've been working with that for about two years now. But when I was in college, I experienced a shooting, unfortunately, at my college. And through that process, because I had predicted the shooting, I had seen visions of it. I had felt the energy around it for weeks leading up to it. And everyone had told me, no, don't worry about that. Put that out of your mind. Because I had had that experience around it. And it's interesting because I was just talking to a friend about this last night, and she told me that she had gone through something similar. She's a lawyer now, so she doesn't even do anything in this field. And I thought, wow, that's so interesting how, it kind of just sort of chooses us. And yeah, so I saw all of that. And because I had that experience, I just believed that I saw, negative things, and that I saw scary things. And I didn't understand why, I would see these horrific images and not be able to stop it and all this stuff. So I ran far away from my spirit guides, who I had always had my whole life and who had openly communicated with me. I ran very far away from them. I developed severe depression, anxiety, and PTSD. I didn't feel like I could turn to anyone in my external world. I didn't feel I could look at and turn to myself. I almost tried to take my own life, and thankfully friends stopped me right before I did that. And in that moment, I just heard a voice say, "It's not your time yet. You're here to do big things," right before my friends pulled me off of a balcony. And the next day I decided I have to change things. Flash forward to me moving to a new city. In that new city, on the very first day I moved there, I met my twin flame, and I had a spontaneous, just like crazy heart activation, feeling like I was having a heart attack. And yeah, that is sort of what led to me really getting into it all. I started having these intense spirit dreams. I healed my depression and anxiety and PTSD through traditional therapy within a year, but also mostly through using these metaphysical modalities, specifically astrology, and just connecting with spirit again and feeling unconditional love. And I've since taken certain clients through that, and it's a really beautiful experience to see the moment that they connect to what that unconditional love of source, universe, Gaia, however you want to phrase it, God, right, what that feels like, because it's so overwhelming and it's so beautiful, and it's what every single one of us are made out of. And it's just a journey to connect back to that versus getting, caught up in the drama of the world. So
there's so much I want to unpack from what you shared with me. But first I want to say, my heart really goes out to you, and I could really feel just the energy and the emotion behind your words. So my heart goes out to you on that. I find it fascinating, as so many of us have a triggering event that almost kind of shakes us awake, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, if you could elaborate a little bit more, because some of the listeners may be familiar with the Akashic Records, but others might not be. So just a quick little more about what that's all about.
Absolutely. Yeah. So the Akashic Records, I think about it sort of like the cloud, like
yes, I love that. That's perfect.
How we store things in the cloud, right?
That's perfect.
It's interesting because they actually modeled the cloud off of human consciousness, funnily enough.
Oh, really? I love that.
Yes, I have friends that work in that world, and they're like, well, actually, that's what it's modeled off of. And that's what even they're moving computers and AI into this whole new realm also. And all of it really is modeled off of how we connect to each other, which I think is so interesting. But yeah, I think about it like the cloud. So, the standard definition is that it's the recorded, memories, emotions, events, feelings, around, human existence. For me, I also tap into like galactic timelines. I've tapped into even just energetic timelines. Sometimes it's more just images and things. And I'm such a huge believer in every single one of us holds the Akashic Records. And that's even what my guides have asked me to be a steward of in this life, is helping people understand, and that's the 23rd dimension, is helping people understand that this is an embodied dimension of the Akashic Records, where we access it through the portal of the heart, and we access it through a place of coming within us versus outside of us. So that the cloud is not just existing up here, right? And we're pulling from it, but that every single one of us is like connected to that pure source energy, and therefore we can connect and tap into all of it.
Well, what you say about the heart makes complete sense, because the heart is the intersection of the spiritual and the physical.
Yes.
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 And for those that follow the Bible closely, the Akashic Records are also referred to as the Book of Life.
Yes.
Yeah. So just to put that into context for those who follow that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Scripture. Yes. Something that I'm studying right now, which is just like the first time I've ever mentioned it, and there will be more to come on that. So to be continued, but very exciting.
Yeah, and it was crazy the day that I received. I mean, I was putting away my laundry. This happened recently too. This was in 2020. I was putting away my laundry one day, and I remember it so clearly because it was during a Pleiadian portal. And I was just putting away my laundry, minding my own business, organizing my closet. And all of a sudden, this just, I can't even describe it. It was just, this whole thing went whooshing through me, went like, whoosh, and it said the Akashic Records are held in the 22nd and the 23rd dimensions. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? Where did
You're like, I didn't quite catch that. Can you repeat that one more time? Like,
okay, like it actually stunned me. I was in my closet and I was actually stunned. And then I connected to these other women, just again, in this super serendipitous way. I connected to these other women that were having the exact same experience of receiving the 23rd dimension. And I was like, this is crazy. This is insane. And yeah, it was quite a ride. And I'm still processing and understanding that, but I received a lot more clarity around it over the last year, and how I'm at least meant to work with it and meant to teach it.
Yeah, I love that. Let's talk about new paradigm.
Yeah.
What does new paradigm leadership mean to you?
Such a good question. Well, first of all, the very first thing that comes to mind is that new paradigm leadership is that every single one of us is here to be a leader. Every single one of us. Some people have energetic codes, right? And when I talk about codes, I'm talking about specifically through the lens of astrology or through the lens of human design, where we see that, or, gene keys, where you see that you have these very specific gates, right? Or keys filled in, or planets that you have, right? Positions that you have that contribute to our personality, our way of seeing the world, our way of moving through the world, and really the soul gifts and talents that we have, each and every one of us. So the very first thing I like to say is that new paradigm leadership is really about every single person stepping up and being a leader. And the way my guides have described it is, it's like we are this big puzzle, right? And every single one of us is figuring out the shape and the form to our puzzle piece so that we can fit into the puzzle, so that we can help other pieces fit into the puzzle and feel connected and valid and worthy in the way that they are. So that's number one, is that it doesn't look like a specific person or even anything that we've seen before, which most leadership we've seen thus far is very masculine. And that's what we as a society have gravitated to, as the old paradigm is very masculine. And even when I speak old paradigm, new paradigm, those are also through the lens of astrology and human design. Astrology is with the age of Aquarius, and then human design is with the gene mutation that's happening in 2027. So for both of those, it's a very close little, I mean, there is no exact date for the age of Aquarius, but most astrologers would say it's the conjunction that happened back in December of 2020, in Jupiter and Aquarius having a, Jupiter and Aquarius and Jupiter and Saturn having a conjunction that they hadn't had for 2,000 years. So that's what they consider to be the new paradigm in astrology. And then even astrologically, we're receiving all of this just new energy that we as a collective, living, breathing, born right now, have not experienced. So when we think about new paradigm leadership, it's really every single one of us coming into our power, every single one of us using the full extent of our codes, right? Our energetic frequency, what we're here to contribute. And then through that, completing the puzzle all together so that we can have less suffering, so that we can have less cruelty, and we can form a more loving, accepting world where we get to actually have fun and play, and we're not caught up in the suffering, right? We get to have joy and, wealth distribution so that people aren't suffering from a money standpoint. So the new paradigm is really shifting everything. But the easiest way to explain it is that it is the shift in our societal values as a human collective. And through that, the leadership style that we are seeking is changing drastically from what it has been in the past, which is very strict and rigid and structured.
Yeah, so much from what you said. First, I love that you said everybody as a leader, right? So the traditional kind of masculine definition of leadership has also been confused tremendously with managing people. There's a big difference between leading people and managing people. But what you're talking about with the new paradigm is everyone can be a leader, because someone may not be meant to lead a bunch of other people forward, but they can certainly lead themselves, right? So I think that's an important point to just put additional emphasis on when we're talking about leadership, because so many people do assume that it means leading tons of other people, which you can do that if that's what you're feeling called to do. I believe that's really about, having a clear sense of self and a sense of your purpose here, and in having that you are, effectively leading yourself. And then some of us have those global missions, right, that involve leading other people, but it's really what it is for you. I would be saying to the audience, is what feels aligned for you with what you're being called to, with your beliefs and values, and allowing yourself to really be seen. That's something that is a thing. Just call it a thing for a lot of people. And
I mean, it's just permission to be your wild and wacky self. It's what we were saying yesterday. I'm just going to tell everyone, because I think it's so refreshing the way you phrased it. Taking your bra off, it's
letting it all hang out, just being at home with yourself. Yes.
Exactly. we're already seeing this shift, you know, like when I talk about this, I really don't want people to see it as some conceptual beam me up, Scotty, heaven on earth, we're going to go somewhere else. It's like, no, we're actually starting to see this. Social media is a wonderful example of how we are connecting and helping each other, you know, across state lines, across country lines, right, across the world. And then also it's an even playing field, right? Like, yes, maybe some influencers or celebrities or whatever get special privileges, or, you know, maybe like they have the wealth right now to have a hair and makeup team and lighting team and whatever, photography. But there also is so much to be said for, it really is like social media is such a great example of that energy of the everyman, that anybody can become a celebrity, right? You don't even have to have a special gift or talent. You just have to be your wild and wacky self, and people start following you. And then from that following, you can build a brand and you can build a business and you can make a livelihood off of that. So we're living in this really cool time where the rules, right, the old rules just don't apply anymore, because one, people are really tired of that. And two, all of us are moving even more in this direction of wanting something different and wanting something refreshing and new. Right. And I think it's really exciting because, you know, I always tell my clients, I'm like, you don't have to be anything other than who you are. You know, all you have to be is just yourself. And through that, you're going to attract your community that you are here to inspire and lead. And like we said, leadership comes in many forms and looks like many different things. But for people listening out there that are business leaders, right, or being called to have businesses or already have businesses, like you yourself probably have a strong energetic code for wanting to inspire, wanting to change the world, right? And you have a strong drive for those things. And that in and of itself is inspiring, just to hear that more people want to do that and more people want to build a more equitable, diverse, inclusive world, you know? So I think it's really exciting. I get really jazzed and excited when I talk about it because the possibilities are really endless, and it's so simple because it's just that individual revolution of be who you are instead of trying to fit into a box.
Yes, my hair keeps going in my face and that's why I keep itching. Anyway, we're just announcing that to everybody. For those watching us on YouTube. Yeah, I'm excited about it too. I mean, there are a lot of things that we've been shown over this last year or two as a collective. One of which being that making it more obvious than ever that the, you know, indoctrination, the systems, the traditional patriarchal society that we've been living in for who knows exactly how long, that a lot of those systems just don't work anymore, and they haven't been working. Something that you and I had a conversation about the other day that I want to share with everybody, and something that I'm actually going to be writing more about is what you mentioned about, you know, keeping, like, trying to salvage old parts, trying to put things back together. And I see that that is happening a lot right now, where a lot of people are having kind of a wait and see approach, or, you know, to everything that's going on in the world climate, like it's going to be over at some point, or they keep trying to, you know, make things go back to normal, and it's never going to go back to what it was, and it's not meant to. So rather than trying to swim against the current on that, right, or fight that, just focus on what's next. Focus on, you know, creating something new, creating a new culture, creating a new calling.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's that Aquarian energy of innovation and invention rules the day. I mean, the more, it's like you and I have been talking about, right? It's like, instead of trying to build a new car, right, out of old car parts, we're just waiting for this new car to materialize. And that might sound really uncomfortable to people who are used to doing. And I get that. I'm a
Me too.
manifesting
Yeah, I'm
generator.
there.
Yeah.
I'm the first to admit that.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm someone who loves excellence, loves you know, achievement, not for the sake of validation, but for the sake of just feeling like, wow, I really did it, you know. And this has been a whole shift for me personally, which of course, you know, in business, everything that we teach, right, is always what we ourselves, our biggest lessons. So you know, for me personally, it's really been like, do less, just be more, be yourself. Stop feeling like you have to be anything other than who you are. You are just right exactly as you are, and you are just right in the exact place that you need to be. And that doesn't mean we wait around and do nothing, but it means we take inspired, aligned action versus feeling like you have to go and do and push, you know, because really, it's that whole line about inspiration, right, where it's like, I think it was, oh gosh, was it Edison or Einstein, one of the inventors said that it is 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration, and we're switching that. So now it is 99% inspiration and 1% perspiration. That's how I like to think of that new paradigm energy, where all the best ideas, all the best downloads come from that place of, okay, I'm not going to keep pushing. I'm going to allow those in and allow those opportunities in, and then take inspired, aligned action when it feels good.
What would be your number one piece of advice, for actionable advice, for someone who is at a crossroads and looking to integrate change?
I would 100% say, and it's not just because I myself do astrology and human design, but go get yourself a reading. Like, go get yourself a reading with someone who knows how to talk about it in an actionable way, because like I said before, really knowing your blueprint and knowing your own energetic codes is going to give you that confidence and that validation that most of us are seeking, to just do whatever it is that our heart actually desires. Because 9 times out of 10, someone says, what I really want to do is X, but what I should do is Y. And then you'll receive one of those readings, right? Or one of those sessions, and you'll go, oh my God, I was right all along. Like, I should just follow my heart and do what my heart wants, versus doing what I felt like I was supposed to be doing this whole time.
It's more or less a validation. I mean, there is, you know, our heart, which is our soul's guidance, and then our mind.
Yes.
And I often say our mind can be a faithful servant, but it shouldn't be the master.
Yes. I say it's a great processor, but it's not a decision maker.
Yes, exactly. And any of the questioning, the apprehension, that all comes, the fear-based thoughts, that all comes from our mind, not our heart. And the fear, it's also is an indication that we're disconnected from the divine.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's why I love working with these modalities so much, because what they really are is they're expansion and contemplation modalities, right? They're not here to put you in a box. They're here to say, how big can you really be?
Yes, I love
How
that.
far can you really go? So that's what to me is so exciting about it. And then from there, once you have that information, you're kind of like, okay, now I have a better sense of who I am and what I authentically, genuinely want out of life, what phase of life I'm going through right now. And I can honor it. And then I can take the next step on that, whatever that looks like.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's all connected. I mean, and it makes total sense when you think about it or feel into it, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
So, Katherine, in closing, is there anything else that you're feeling guided to bring forward?
Let me just tap in. Actually, my guys are saying tap into the records, and let me just see if anything that comes forward. Yeah, this is actually something that they've channeled to me before, and it's another way of explaining analogy of the puzzle piece is another way that they've described it is those of us that identify as light workers, we are like crystals, right? And so just how every single crystal has its own properties, or there's even groupings of crystals, right? Like these are solar plexus crystals, or these are heart crystals, or these are calming crystals. What is so beautiful about it is that every single one of us is like this really unique, gorgeous crystal. And then within that, there are the crystal groupings, right? So one of the biggest things that I have felt called to talk about in terms of, again, what are those actionable steps that you can take to step into more new paradigm energy is coalition building, masterminding. It's even in the book, Think and Grow Rich. That is the number one thing that he says in that book is masterminding and being in groups of people that can share. Because even without going into it too much, but breaking down how money works in the new paradigm, which I think for most people is a block to taking those heart desired steps that they want to take. More often than not, it's usually I have to make money, but I have to make this much, right? I don't think I'm going to make money doing that thing. And so beyond the money, but especially with that piece of it, masterminding and being in circles of people who have similar ideals and beliefs and values right now as we're transitioning into the new paradigm, that is a really, really, really great next step to take, right? Not lone wolfing it, not doing everything yourself. There's a beautiful balance right now between our increased sovereignty and moving out of enmeshment and codependency, but through that, creating a space where we can be our sovereign selves, but in community with other sovereign souls. And then we can share. And then it becomes this really beautiful wealth in all senses of the word, holistic wealth building, right? Of a rich life, being able to share that with one another and help each other build that and help each other lift up, right? And change the world in, a community versus just feeling like you are the only person doing that. So that's what I'll leave people with.
Awesome advice. Yes. Thank you so much. Catherine, it was an absolute pleasure to have you. As you know, I could talk to you for days. So
I know. Our Carrie Miranda connection.
Yes, totally. Sex and the City is one of my favorite shows of all time. Just so everybody knows now. Thank you, Katherine.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Awaken on Purpose podcast. Please visit me and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or at awakenonpurpose.com so you never miss an episode. To learn more about how you can achieve a fulfilled life, live your purpose, and make an impact as a mission-driven leader, visit me at jenniferspore.com. And while you're there, be sure to join Awaken on Purpose, the community, to connect, collaborate, and grow in business and life with others who are like-minded.